Hey folks, Pastor Dale here, just coming to you with our weekly church update and giving you some important information in the life and the ministry of Wedgwood Baptist Church. The first thing is this Sunday, April 26th at 6 o'clock, we are going to have our regularly scheduled church family conference. Now, obviously, we can't gather together in public still, and so we are going to utilize Zoom as a means by which we can somewhat still gather together. And so in this conference, what we'll have the opportunity to do is to give an update on just the renovation, the timeline, expectations for that. We'll also have some updates regarding our budget and just some of the ministries of our church. But then the main thing we want to have is just really a big Q&A time. And so you're going to have the opportunity to text in your questions, and myself and our other staff members, even some of our elders, will be present to answer any questions that you may have just about the ministry of Wedgwood and what all is going on. So make sure to mark your calendars. Again, this Sunday night, April 26th, 6 o'clock. It'll be a potluck in the sense of whatever you got in your fridge is what you can bring to your own aspect of this church family conference. You can even eat while we meet. Nobody will fault you for that either. The second and big announcement that we have regarding our ministry is, unfortunately, we are going to have to, at least at this point, postpone our Seattle mission trip. That was originally scheduled for June 5th through the 12th, and even if our stay-at-home orders are lifted between now and then, we just don't feel like we'll have the adequate time and planning to put together the mission trip that would be beneficial to those planters there in the Seattle area. So we've already been in conversation with them about the possibility of rescheduling it or just waiting until the summer of 2021. But either way, we are going to continue our support and partnership with Seattle. So for those of you that were hoping to go or thinking about going, know that we will definitely have opportunities for that in the future. And speaking of the summer, many of you are wondering about just our age-graded ministries. We have a children's and youth camp scheduled. We have a youth mission trip scheduled as well. And so Jay and Casey and Patrick and Julie will all be getting to you very soon regarding some updates as far as what the summer is going to look like with those different ministries. So stay tuned for some important announcements in the days ahead for that. Now, as we go throughout another week of staying at home, of sheltering in place, another week of disruption, I want to encourage you with a passage that's been an encouragement to me. This summer, we're actually planning to start a new series. Once we end our Sermon on the Mount series, we're going to begin a new series going through the book of Philippians. And I'm very excited. This is probably one of my favorite books in Scripture. And one of the reasons why is just the attitude that we see in the Apostle Paul. Because Paul was somebody that was no stranger to interruptions. He was no stranger to things not working out the way he thought maybe they would initially. And in Philippians, we find Paul sitting in a prison cell, and he's not able to proclaim the gospel. He's not able to plant churches. He's not able to invest in the churches that he's already started. And so he's sitting in a prison cell, and you would maybe expect him to be down and depressed and sad, but instead you find him there in Philippians chapter 1 saying, look, actually what has happened to me is it served to advance the gospel, that even though he's not able to personally be out there sharing the good news of the gospel with others and starting churches, he knows that God is bigger than him and God is bigger than any imprisonment. And so he is confident that God is still at work. And he gives a couple of examples of how that's taking place. The Apostle Paul has been able to share the gospel with many that are his many of the people that are imprisoning him. And so the other imperial or Praetorian guard has been able to hear the good news of the gospel. And then he's encouraged by those that have been inspired to preach the gospel more boldly because of his imprisonment. And the whole point is that even though things aren't turning out the way he thought they would, Paul is able to rejoice because he knows that God is bigger than the situation he finds himself in. And so for us today, I think that's an encouragement as well, that things are not going like we would have expected. But it doesn't mean that God's not in control. It doesn't mean that He's not sovereign. It doesn't mean that He's still not working all things together for our good and for His glory. And so through times like this, I know it's hard, but let me encourage you to continue to trust. Continue to trust that God still knows what He's doing. Continue to trust that God is still with us through all of this. Continue to trust that God is still working and moving in ways that we have no idea about yet. But one day we'll be able to hear the stories of how God was at work in the lives of so many different people. And so continue to join me in praying for our church, for our church community, for our community that we find ourselves in. And let's continue to hold on and trust and know that even though things are not going the way we would like them to go maybe right now, that God is still working. And so let's also continue to be praying and asking God, what are you saying to us in this? What do we need to do about this situation? How do we need to respond in obedience? So know that I'm praying for each of you. We value your prayers as well. We look forward to another great week in which God is working and moving, even though we may not be experiencing life as we thought it would be. And so we look forward to seeing you online this Sunday as well, Wednesday night with our student ministry worship. So we hope you have a great week. We'll see you soon.